Hey everyone, welcome to another Crooked Chicken review. This week we'll be going over the latest episode of Superman and Lois. Uh, all in all, that show I think is a great show because the latest that we've had from CW as far as their DC Universe TV shows, not been that great. We got Arrow, which was a great show, but it had its ups and downs. We have Flash, which is still going. Surprisingly, got renewed for a ninth season. I was sure that this season was going to be the last one. And, we have Legends and we had Batwoman, but I think we can all agree that was kind of a garbage of a show. Not, because everyone wanted to hate on Ruby Rose. I didn't think it was her fault. I think it was, a combined fault of just bad writing and bad stories, and it was just a shit show from the get-go. And I tried to watch it, but it was impossible to get into it. And we've had a handful of others. We have Legends, which was recently canceled, but I think that's probably a good thing because that went to crap too. Honestly, they forced out all the characters worth watching. Not to say that Katie Lotz's Sarah Lance wasn't worth watching, but the story it was all over the place. I didn't like it. It was too cartoony for me and just not worth the watch anymore. But with that being said, let's get into this week's review of Superman and Lois, the penultimate episode to the season finale, season 2. We're really thankful that they've got this show. I think it is on the top notch of the CW shows right now as far as DC Comics. And, not to say that Flash isn't good, it's actually coming back around for me. The season finale and everything with that, I think they have a decent story. It is, they're always going to find a way to come back to Reverse Flash, but it is what it is. And anyways, getting back to Superman and Lois, we pick up with the episode where the previous episode left off. We had Superman fighting Allie. Now, Allie is this cult leader who has basically become a god because she was leading these groups of people that she had convinced that they were incomplete, they were not whole, that, in order to become complete and everything, you had to merge with your mirror self, because there's this whole mirror universe. It's the Bizarro world. We got our version of Bizarro Superman earlier in the season, and I thought that went well. I thought they had a good story for that because it turns out he's not evil or anything. He just went down a bad path for the most part and ended up getting himself killed. So spoilers if you haven't watched any of this season, and spoilers ahead for this current episode. So Superman has went to fight Allie, and she's, like I said, she's basically a god at this point. She drains the life force of her enemies. She drains Superman of all his, his sunlight reserves, or whatever you want to call them, in his body. So after this battle, he's basically left human and completely defenseless, and he actually dies for a second. But John Henry's daughter actually brings him back. And, he ends up in the hospital, and he looks like hell for the most part. And it basically comes down to he is more or less human at this point. He still could get his abilities back. He actually goes to see the AI of his birth mother, and she tells him that, it could be weeks or months or maybe even years before he gets his abilities back, because his body is basically readjusting to being on Earth as it did when he was a child, and he didn't have abilities until he was 4. And so with this comes the bad news that he may or may not get his powers back, just depending how it works out for him. And that just leaves him completely defenseless, so his son Jordan has to step in, and reluctantly, because he's still adjusting to his abilities because they had developed in the last year, and he has no idea really how to fly or land. It's just something that's all new to him. He's on his way to learning how to manage these abilities. But with that, because recently Clark had revealed who he was to Lana. We have this version of Lana versus the old Smallville one, which, they both have their merits because Smallville was great for its time. And in some aspects, it still holds up because Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling did a fucking awesome job. And they're actually, kind of, we're going to step out of bounds here, but they're actually going to do a Smallville rewatch podcast. They just recently announced it. Michael Rosenbaum did on his other podcast that he does called Inside of You. And I think here in the next couple weeks, we're going to see that podcast start up, and they're going to do a rewatch of, from episode 1, as far as they can go, talking about the good and the bad and all that stuff about the show. But okay, let's jump back to Superman and Lois. So, we have Jordan stepping in, trying to take over and be the protector of the family and mankind at this point. And like I said, Lana had recently been made aware of what this secret that Clark's been keeping his entire life. And with that, they decide to tell her what's happening because at this point, Allie has taken all this power from Superman and she's going to merge the two worlds instead of merging people individually like she was going to initially attempt. And she's merging these worlds, and so aspects of this mirror world, the Bizarro world, are showing up on Earth Prime, and people are freaking out. So she decides, being the new town mayor, that she's going to reveal to them, what's happening, what's the truth about what's happening. She tells them, they don't believe her. So Superman shows up to reassure them that she is telling the truth. That's what's happening. And it's after this little, getting them to understand what's happening, and then, they need to just go home and be with their loved ones for the most part. Lana's doppelganger from the Bizarro world, as well as Jonathan's, attack the school because they are superpowered on their world, and they've been completely brainwashed by this Allie, and Jonathan's a little douche, and so they're there to kill Superman in his weakened state. So Jordan steps in, he intervenes, and at this point, it's revealed to Lana's daughter, who Jordan had been dating until recently because he was keeping all these secrets. She broke up with him, and it's revealed to her why he had all these secrets, because he has abilities, and she sees this. So she's freaked out, and Lana takes her and runs, and then this doppelganger of Lana, they get into all, battle royale in the school. They're destroying the school left and right. And it's at that point where Jonathan's doppelganger is trying to kill Superman, and they end up in the same room together. And Jordan is getting his ass handed to him for the most part. And then John Henry's daughter shows up because she's built herself this little super suit, basically. And together they take them out, and the DOD comes in and takes them away to a secure location. And from that point, we are seeing these two worlds merge, and aspects are starting to show up in Earth Prime's world. Things are shifting, little bits of technology are popping over into their world. So, the merge is in full effect, and at this point, John Henry takes it upon himself that he has to go after her because Superman's out of commission and he can't really do anything. So John Henry goes to this portal that was discovered in earlier episodes and goes to a void in the portal where the two worlds exist, and that's where Allie is trying to merge them. And it's through this that he goes to fight her, and his daughter's keeping tabs on him, but inevitably his signal is lost and she can't get a hold of him. And, we kind of flash back to what's going on Earth Prime. Like I said, all these aspects of the other world are shifting over to theirs. And it's just fucking chaos from there for the most part. People are freaking out. They are having a hard time believing what's going on, basically. So there you go. There is the breakdown of the latest episode of Superman and Lois. Great show. I think it's top notch compared to what else is on the CW about their version of the DC universe. I think they've, in some aspects, tried way too hard on some things. They're bringing in these new shows that I have little faith for, If you want to see my review on the trailer for Gotham Knights, please check that out. It's short but sweet. I think it looks like trash and it's not going to last. But you can kind of make that judgment for yourself too. Anyways, guys, that was my breakdown of this week's episode. Patiently waiting for the season finale. I hope we don't get left on a cliffhanger, but you just never know. And that'll do it for this time. Until next time, I will see you later. Thanks.